Welcome back to the Renegade Report. I'm Francis Mayer, Sports Information Director of the best athletic department in the known universe. How do I know? Because I do, because I'm around it all the time, and I see the hard work that people put into winning and giving their all on the athletic fields. But let me tell you something. They couldn't do it without support of the community. The Renegade team is a lot deeper than what you see when you pull up a roster at GoGades.com. The Renegade team extends deep into the community where we have partners and friends who donate their time, their money, and their love to help us be the best organization we can be. And the man at the helm of that wild chariot is Tom Gelder. Hello, Tom. How are you, sir?
Hey, Francis.
You are the executive director of the BC Foundation.
I am. I took over from Mike Stepanovich when he retired about a year ago, and I've been doing fundraising pretty much most of my adult life at a variety of places, and I was taking classes at BC and fell in love with the college. And when Mike retired, I thought, well, this will be fun. So,
but Tom, you had passed the bar. You were an attorney many years ago.
I
had a career.
I was a lawyer for a while, and then I got into doing fundraising, and I was in Chicago, New York, L.A., Montana twice, Denver.
Give us your demographic age. I'm not trying to pin you down. You can give me whatever number you're comfortable with when you came back to BC and took classes after you felt like your career was kind of over.
60.
Wow.
And I was taking woodworking and construction, and because I'd always wanted to build my own house, and I had never had any classes like that, and so I got into Steve Hegman's woodworking classes, and now I've built cabinets and tables and re-roofed my house and put in windows, and it's been great.
Well, and you and my father are similar in age, and he discovered he retired after a career with the Humboldt County Sheriff's Department. Good job, Dad. And he watched Shane like 40 times and put on 15 pounds, and my mom was like, "Dad, you need a hobby. You need to get out there and do something." So he's in a bowling league now. He's doing a lot of things. But the point of that is people are living a lot longer. And there's no reason why, if you're able to retire at 55 or 60, why you can't come back to BC and start the third act of your life, essentially.
Oh, absolutely.
And you did that. I mean, did you build any furniture when you were younger?
No, I had no clue how to do any of that, and the classes at BC were great. I mean, I took an industrial drawing class so I could draw what I wanted to build, and the construction. Anyhow, it was
this is
I
interesting.
would go all the time
because that is something that I think people don't consider. Sure, I think that chiefly people come to BC to get their general education out of the way so they can pursue a baccalaureate degree. But as I've said before, there's almost no problem in your life that you can't figure out how to solve yourself if you have the right education, and that's all available at BC. For people of all ages. But if to have those programs and have the facilities that we have, we need help from the foundation. So what does the foundation do?
Well, in one sense, the Bakersfield College Foundation is like a bank.
Okay.
So what happens is I mean, in the same way that you go out and try to raise support for athletics.
Sure.
If somebody gives money and they say, I want to give it to athletics, for the most part, that money comes into the foundation, and then we hold on to it and expend it in the way that you tell us to.
Right.
So you say, I want to give $1,000 to the football team. So we have a bunch of accounts for all athletics, for different, political science, nursing, woodworking, all of those things. We have accounts, and we receive the money. We give you a tax receipt that says you gave
tax receipt, so I can write this off.
Yeah, if you give anything to the college, it's tax deductible.
Wonderful.
So we keep track of it. We make sure that athletics knows that you gave the money and what for. So then when they go to spend it, they essentially have to say, well, Francis said he gave us $1,000 and he wants it used for uniforms. So here's a request for $1,000 for uniforms. If that's what you said, then it has to match up. So we're sort of the
You're the saver in the spender-saver relationship, I think. They say in most marriages there's a spender and a saver. And the saver is so essential because the saver can tell the spender, you can't really afford that. Let's spend this money this
there's
way.
that part of it, but we also spend money. For example, the Bakersfield College Foundation has an endowment of a little over $30 million. So, $30 million for a community college, that would be on the high side.
Wow.
We're probably higher than most, not as high as some.
But we have incredible facilities at BC. We have a lot of awesome stuff.
We do, and so of the $30 million endowment, we pay out over $500,000 a year just in scholarships. And that could be as many as 500 different scholarships. Some students receive more than one.
How do they receive them, Tom?
Well, they apply online through
Okay.
financial aid, and let's say again you set up a scholarship fund where you want to give it to somebody who grew up in Bakersfield, who's a full-time student, who's interested in athletics, and has a 2.5 grade point or better. So what financial aid? So our students come in, they need financial aid, and people say, "Oh, I would qualify for that." So they apply online, and then financial aid will go through all of the students who have applied for that scholarship who qualify. So they look at their transcript, they look, did they grow up in Bakersfield, whatever your criteria is. And then in that instance, you could even screen you could select the applicants once financial aid has screened them. So you set what the parameters are. Financial aid says these 5 students meet that criteria. And then oftentimes donors or their families say, oh, gee, let's give it to this person because, they seem most like mom or whatever.
Sure. Well, and I think that clears up a misconception. I've heard people say before, well, I want to donate money to VC, but they say I just have to donate it to the college and I can't donate it just to football or wrestling. No. And that is just not accurate.
In fact, Francis, 95% of the money that we get is restricted, which means when somebody gives it to us, they say, I only want it spent for this particular thing. Now, there are legal, there are rules that say, well, you can't be too restrictive on it, but for the most part, that's not.
I'll clarify for you. I think you mean you cannot be hateful. You can't be. You can't violate civil rights in the process and say only a white male can win this scholarship or something like that.
Right. So but these rules, everybody plays by, but. Like I say, most people come in and they say, I want it for a specific thing, and the foundation's role is to make sure that it's spent that way. The other thing that we do on that endowment, that we have an investment manager that invests that endowment, and then say you set up a scholarship fund, you put $20,000 in a scholarship fund, and you say, I want it to support somebody who's in the nursing program.
Okay.
So we invest that $20,000, and over the last couple of years, our investment performance has been outstanding, 15 to 18%.
Sure.
Which is better than most of us can do otherwise.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But what we do is we have what we call spendable income. So even though that $20,000 may have made 15%, we're only going to allow 5% to be spent out of it.
Wow.
So in that regard, this year we may make 15%. Next year, if the market goes down the tubes, and maybe we don't make anything. But because we've sort of reinvested that money, our endowments tend to grow over time. And the other part of that is it essentially keeps pace with inflation.
Okay.
So that if you're giving a $500 scholarship in 2014, that in 2034 that endowment has grown enough so that it's still providing the same amount of purchasing power 20 years later or 50 years later. BC's been in existence for over 100 years, and we have endowments that go back a long ways, and they've grown substantially. And it's great because people can set up something that, you know, they love BC and they want to set up something that has permanence, and we follow their wishes. We do a good job of managing it, and we continue to pay it out. And then one thing that we haven't done as well as we'd like, but we're working on, is also reporting to our donors of saying, you know, this is the money you gave us. Here's what we've done with it. And so...
No, but people want to know, and they know that they're investing in something that's going to be around for a really long time, like you said. I heard an interesting story that Dr. Norm Levin told a friend of mine who's a professor at the college. He asked him, how were you able to make such a huge donation to BC? I mean, I believe he was a dentist in his professional career.
Actually, Dr. Levin was a dermatologist.
Oh, he was a dermatologist.
Which is close.
Okay.
But Norm Levin is a great example. Here's a guy, you know, lived in Bakersfield, practiced both in Bakersfield and at SC down in LA.
Right.
He ended up giving over $15 million to Bakersfield College, which is the largest single gift ever made to a community college. So we have anywhere.
So I can add to my list of onlys when I add when I like to mention that BC is the greatest athletic department. We also have the greatest donor in the known universe.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
And what was wonderful about Norm Levin is he didn't go to BC, but he realized what the importance of BC to this community.
Oh, yes.
And by making that commitment, it was his vote of confidence that what BC is doing is what the community needs. And, I mean, we're forever grateful to him for doing that.
Absolutely, and here we are still talking about him. He has passed. May he rest in peace, but a renegade eternally. We're going to tell you when we come back how he managed to make or save $15 million during the course of his dermatology career, and we're also going to reveal to you a very special improvement that's coming to the Bakersfield College Athletic Department with the generous assistance of the BC Foundation. Don't go anywhere. More with Tom Gelder when we come back.